welcome this edition of the Two Tired Guys Chatathon, coming to you with the theme of Hollywood stunts and cars and the people behind them, or in our case, in front of you right now. That's who we have here. I'm Randy Cardoon. That is Hot Rod Bob Beck. See, he's even waving at you. And we welcome today the man, the stuntman, the driver. Yes, the man behind the new Netflix show, Drive Hard, the Maloof Way. And he has a big event coming up in San Gabriel. Why San Gabriel? I think you're wondering. Well, we'll tell you in a minute. He also, by the way, is the father of his own car-obsessed kids. It is a man's dream, a car man's dream. And we've got him right here. And he has a guest with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Sammy Maloof joining us live. Well, not so live. Here on the podcast program, Two Tired Guys. Sammy, how are you, buddy?
Doing just right. How about you?
Very good. And we have a guest with us today who just happened to be in the neighborhood and after careful negotiations has decided to join us. Who do we have?
We have a legendary stuntman, second unit director, started out in the early days with Hal Needham, a guy by the name of Terry Leonard.
Terry, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I think this will, right from the start, let's start off a little bit with a quick review of you, Sammy, and of course, in this case, also Terry. How long have you been in San Gabriel, and which came first, the cars or the stunts?
Perfect. Well, I've been in San Gabriel pretty much most of my life. Probably, most of my life, San Gabriel area. And started out with go-karts at a young age. I built a go-kart in 4th grade that did somewhere about close to 80 miles an hour. So gearhead was always in my blood.
Wow, the 80 miles an hour?
Yeah, I got picked up by San Gabriel Police Department. A police officer by the name of Lieutenant Hughes picked me up, put my go-kart in the back of the car, and took me home.
Did they immediately hire you to tune up their squad cars or what?
Later on in life, after I got into street racing, they couldn't catch me. Of course, I had to do a little bit to make the odds even.
No wonder you got such a great rapport with the city council and the police department.
Absolutely.
They know you.
Well, after splitting, I had to split some of that street racing money with them to keep me going, you know.
Oh, no, we can't say
that's
that.
A lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie, just joking.
Me.
I did not hear that, yeah.
Yes, well, that's why we edit. No, wait a minute.
No.
We could do that. So how did you meet Terry?
Well, I knew of Terry longer than I've been in as a stuntman. But I met Terry on a movie called Mighty Joe Young. And that's when I was introduced to him. But I was doing stunts before that. But I've heard of Terry Leonard for so many years. Terry's the icon. Terry's the legend. Terry's the real deal, right? So one day, a buddy of mine, Bob, he brought me, he goes, you need to drive out to the set out in, I think it was Long Beach. You guys were filming Mighty Joe Young and meet Terry Leonard. The moment I met Terry, it was like this. I knew that Terry and I were going to be, I never told him I was a stuntman ever. We got talking about hot rods and he was racing B production and he was a gearhead as well as a horseman and just multiple good all around stuntman. So we got talking and Terry, believe it or not, started talking the same language that I knew. So I knew that he was no slouch. I knew he knew cars. So after Mighty Joe Young, he came out to my shop and Terry said, Sammy, I want to build a 66 Corvette with a 427. So that's when it all started, guys. And Terry would come over there's a story behind this Corvette, how we got it. It's got to be another show because it not only is it a little bit lengthy, but it is the most hilarious story you will ever hear. Because if you know Terry Leonard, he worked with John Wayne. He's cowboy up. He's cowboy tough. And he is a cowboy. He ropes all the time. So when he has an instinct about somebody, he's going to run his mouth on it. So finding that Corvette, I love this story so much, and it's a lengthy story. Maybe it's not the
tell
time.
it. Come on, you've already built it up.
So,
Go ahead and tell it.
So Terry comes to me and he goes, Sammy, I want to find a 66 Corvette. I want to build it. I want to make a sort of a road race style looking car like yours. I go, okay. So I call a buddy of mine, Brian. So he's the type of guy that finds everything. So he calls me up. He goes, I found a car for your buddy Terry. I go, where is it? He goes, it's in sort of like towards Hollywood Hills area. I go, all right. So he gives me the number. Terry calls the cat. He hangs the phone up with the guy and he goes, Sammy, I'm telling you, he's a drug addict. I go, how do you know? He goes, I can smell it through the phone. I go, Terry, he's not a drug addict. Come on. He goes, I'm telling you. So I go, all right. I go, let's just go look at the car. He goes, we got to be there Sunday at 10 a.m. I go, okay. So he lived in Aquadolce. I live in Arcadia. So Terry goes, I go, I'll see you at the house about 9 o'clock. We'll go over there. He goes, all right. 5:15 in the morning, my phone rings. Sammy, what are you doing? I go, I'm awake now. What's up? He goes, I'm heading down the hill. I'll see you in a little bit. I go, we don't have to be there till 10 o'clock. He goes, yeah, but I want to go get something to eat and stuff. I go, all right. So he picks me up all the way over to the little restaurant we went to. I think it wasn't Jerry's Deli. It was next to Jerry's Deli out there.
Right.
He goes, Sammy, I'm telling you, he's a drug addict. I go, whatever. So now every few minutes he's looking at his watch. What time is it? What time is it? We leave the restaurant there at 9:15. It's only 3 blocks away. We pull up in the guy's driveway and the gate's shut. 10 o'clock on the button. He calls the guy. Robbie Terry Leonard, I'm at your gate here. Open it up. So I'm laughing because the way he is, it's just Terry. So the gate opens up. We get out of his truck. We walk over to the door, and he goes, and he stands there. Now, Randy and Bob, you got to understand. This guy answered the door. His hair was like this. There wasn't a piece of his skin that wasn't tattooed. He had earrings and rings everywhere. When he opened that door, and his hair was everywhere, and I looked at his body with no shirt on. I seen the look on his face, and the very thing that hit me was him saying he's a drug addict. I did everything I could to not laugh in this man's face. I turned around and dropped. So he's all, I'm here to see your Corvette, Robbie. He goes, yeah, man. He goes, well, give me a minute. Let me open the door. So he goes over and he slides the thing open, right? And I'm cracking up. I can't stop laughing.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking at the whole Corvette. This thing is beautiful. It's never been wrecked. It's a 66 Corvette, 427, Super T10 trans. M22 trans. Everything was set up in this car. Beautiful. It's been sitting for about 15 years. Oh. So I look at it, and the guy wanted, I think, 15 grand for it. So Terry, I go, Terry, this thing is nice. He goes, I'm not going to give him 15 grand. I go, Terry, it's worth every bit of 15 grand. He goes, I'm not going to give him 15 grand. So I go, all right. I go, let's offer him 10. He goes, I'll go for 10. So we go over there, and he stands there like this, right? The guy opens the door, and he's all, Rami, I ain't going to give you 15 for the car. Right out of his mouth, right? He goes, I got to tell you, he goes, it's very sentimental to me. It was, belonged to my grandfather. Then he passed it down to my uncle. My uncle gave it over to my dad. And he's all, Robbie, I'm not concerned about how many hands it went to or whose grandfather it came from. I'm inside trying not to laugh. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10 grand for it. And did he say yes or go for 11?
He went for 11.
So yeah, he goes, can you go 11? You got to understand, Terry, his backyard has got cans of money.
No stop.
Because he doesn't spend no money. He's got the original money tree.
Just let me interrupt. I've bought and sold a lot of horses. I know how to trade Bill and try and get a deal.
Try to get a deal. I'm telling the poor guy. So anyway, he said, I'll go for 11. I have never seen in my life a checkbook come out of somebody's hand and him write a check for $11,000 so quick in my life. So now he buys the car. I come out, I pick it up. I just got done building a car that I street raced for in Mexico for the guy that works for the cartels. So I raced for them $100,000 street races for them. So they had just picked up a car I built and left me a foil full of $50,000. So I
What's
have
the statute of limitations on this?
there is. So
Have you guys got enough time for the rest of this story?
wait a minute now. You got to hear this. So, the guy wrapped it
Various
up.
corrections. I get it.
The guy wrapped
Let me go out for a cup of coffee. I'll be back. I've heard this story about 200 times.
You were there.
Every time he tells it, it's almost the same.
Let him tell it, and I will then let you jump in and fill in the gaps. Go
Correct
ahead.
it. Yeah.
So anyway, they came over. They picked up the car I built them. It was a 25th anniversary Oldsmobile. I built a 770 horsepower, 420-inch small block, and then 300 of nitrous on it.
Help us over there.
That's going to go to Mexico. So they picked it up. They left me 50 grand. I just had it, brought it to me. I gave it to Jennifer. She put it in the desk. I get a phone call, 10 minutes. Sammy, this is Terry. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I got some time. I'm going to ease on down and we'll look at that Corvette of mine. I go, okay. He goes, let's find out what we're going to do. I said, okay, so his Corvette is here. It's on the rack. So I tell Jennifer, hey, we still have that money? And she's all, yeah. I go, give me half of it. So she takes half of it out. I go to where the Corvette is. I pull up the passenger carpet and I put a bunch of money under the carpet, right? So Terry goes, I go, come on, let's eat. So we ate lunch. He goes, now listen, let's go out there and I'll play with that Corvette. You can play with it with me. I go, all right. I go, you want to do some of the engine stuff? He goes, no, that's all your thing. He goes, I'm going to clean up that interior. I go, that's a good idea. So now I got guys, my guys are working for me, right? And they're watching, they know what's going on. So he goes on the driver's side and he's cleaning it on the rack. He cleans everything. Every few minutes, he's got that chew in his mouth. He's got to stop and spit in that cup. And so now he gets over to the passenger side. Randy and Bob, you have no idea. He starts vacuuming, and we're videoing this, right? Vacuuming. All of a sudden, he moves the carpet, and he sees that money. It's all he's been saying is drug addict, drug money, drug. When he pulled that thing over, and he seen it, he just froze. And then he looked to see who was looking at him. And we all caught him right there with his pants down. No, he thought in his head, I found this money, do I got to share it? So ever since then, I've gotten so much mileage out of that story, especially in the stunt community. Nobody's even answered. Stunt community, so that every time they see Terry, they bring that story up. They tell us about that Corvette you guys bought. But that was my first endeavor with Terry as far as building a car. And you got to remember something. Every day he would come over and we would take aluminum fuel line and build the flares and design the front end and use crepe paper and tape it. And then come over the next day and say, Sammy, I want to reshape that. Am I right or wrong?
Boy, this story's way too long. How long is your show? We're probably out of time.
Yeah. Thanks
So
for
what time is
joining
it now?
us. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's been nice talking with you.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll
nice
see you
talking.
next week.
Yeah.
Are we being filmed or what?
Welcome.
Are we on film?
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
We're show, yeah.
It's video. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's video, digital video. Yeah, no,
I can wipe my makeup off.
This
No,
is the
that's
first.
okay.
This
That's
is the
okay.
first of a long-term series at this point. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
There we go.
Well,
Yeah,
good talking
we're
to you,
starting
boys.
this off in
I'm
the
sorry I
bag.
didn't have
Already
much to
getting
say,
into
but
already getting into.
I would have corrected the story if it was wrong.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add to that, by the way, Terry?
Pardon me?
Is there anything about that story you want to add?
There's nothing I can add to that story. How many words do you need to hear the rest of that story? Well, I've been a stuntman since 1965. Done a lot of pictures. Did 5 pictures of Wayne. So anyway,
Tell him.
you got to come to this show down here on Sunday and donate because it's going to a lot of good causes.
Okay, that's a great transition. Let's go right into that and tell me a little bit about what's going on with the show, how it came about, and how do you donate and all that. Go ahead, Sammy.
Well, as you know, I live in the city of, my race car shop is in the city of San Gabriel, And me being a stuntman and belong to the Stuntmen's Association, I figured that I would like to do a fundraiser. We do fundraisers all the time for people all over the United States, Texas, everywhere. I bring out our outreach called Winning at the Race of Life. We generate funds for the churches or the schools or other, like police department, first responders, military. So I said, you know what, we need to do that here in the city of San Gabriel. So I got together with my peers in the Stuntmen's Association, the president, who was Alex Daniels, and I said, we need to do a fundraiser because we want to get a building for our Stuntmen's Association. We need to get a building. At this point in time, we're leasing. We want to own our own facility. I go, so let me do this with the city of San Gabriel. Let me help the people in the city of San Gabriel, such as the police department, the fire department, La Casa. It's a outreach program where they help children and homeless people. I want to do this for our veterans, and I also want to do this for the K-9 units and the Humane Society. So I figured, look, I sat with the city. I explained to them what I wanted to do in a city council meeting. They approved everything. They even approved me after they said they'll do all the fees. They'll waive the fees. They'll help us. We'll get our public works involved to help us. So we went through all that, and then I got the opportunity to work with them and say, look, I would love to delegate these funds to the police department, the fire department, the CASA, and the ones, as well as our Stuntmen's Association. So they agreed with me and said, okay, let's do this fundraiser. So my biggest thing here, none of this goes to Sammy Maloof, Maloof Racing, or Winning at the Race of Life, not 1 cent. This all goes to the ones who risk their lives for us daily. You know, as a Christian, the Bible says, in John 15:13, no greater love than this, than a man be willing to lay his life down for others. Our police department, our fire department, the canines, those dogs, look, they're no different than a soldier. They're out there doing a soldier's job. Some of the dogs are ill, and we don't have enough, you know, they don't even have enough medical care for the dogs. This is important to us. So this big part of our veterans, our canines, our police department, and our fire department, as well as the La Casa and Humane Society, means a lot to us. So I'm trying to get everybody to help me help them. Donate. Go to stuntsandfun.com and donate. Help us. Come out September 11th and show up. It's a free event. 11th. Oh. It's a free event. And just show up. We're going to put on a big Hollywood stunt show down the whole street. You bring him with you. But anyway, we're putting on a...
Don't show up on the 12th. You won't be there.
Exactly. Show up on the 12th and all you'll have is a street sweeper.
What day are we talking about? What day is Sunday?
This is exactly what happens when you're a stuntman and you hit your hip every single day.
Janine, what is it?
It's September 11th, Sunday. September 11th.
Oh, I'm thinking of another date. Boys, you gotta help us.
This is exactly what happens every time we get together.
Absolutely. My God, see, don't let me talk.
So anyway,
that's why I'm not an actor.
Just agree with us and go, si, senor.
Yes, sir, si, senor.
Okay. So this Sunday, it is an absolute free event. We're gonna have a whole Hollywood experience from the beginning of Commercial Avenue to the end of Commercial Avenue. We're going to have people on fire. We're going to have high fall people. We're going to have fight people. We're going to have cars skiing down the road on 2 wheels. We're going to have me giving rides to kids in a stunt car. We're going to have a guy on a bicycle juggling on fire. So there's going to be a lot of stunts going on and a lot of great people that you all can meet. And look, I say it this way. Everything we're craving in life is on the other side of a person. Mm-hmm. One can never multiply. You guys show up over here. There may be a vendor, there may be a person, there may be a second unit director, stunt coordinator. There may be somebody out here that takes a liking to you and takes you from where you are to where you need to be overnight. I'm a big believer in giving to live instead of living to give. And every penny that is brought in, there will be an account for every penny. Anybody can look it up. They can see it. We're not into taking things that don't belong to us. We keep our words, even if it's to our own hurt. So I'm asking everybody to help us help others.
And there'll also be cars there. Some people are bringing their cars out, kind of a mini car show of sorts. There will be, I think there's going to be a 50-50. There's been some talk about. There was going to be also a raffle going on. So there's a lot of ways you can win, as well as giving and donating to the cause.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of giveaway stuff. Emotions, car show will be out here. They're bringing like 30 or 40 of their beautiful hot rods or lowrider cars out here. We also have a DJ, Alex. His name is Alex. He's a DJ. He's bringing his whole, donating all his talent on the day. His stage is coming out here. We'll have our beautiful buddy Randy Cadu. He'll be out here.
I'm waiving twice, 5 times my normal fee just to do this for you. To have every dollar go toward the cause.
And thank you so much. And Bob Beck, if it wasn't for Bob Beck, there's a lot of people in this world that would never have recognition. So he's one of my heroes.
Wow, Bob, I never thought of you that way before.
Well,
He paid me a lot of money to say that. I had to give him one of my race cars for me to say that.
you got to look under the floor mat. Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. Look under the floor mat. Look under the floor mat. You'll find it.
Yeah, look under the floor mat for sure.
Very good.
So I would really appreciate if y'all come out and visit us, please, and just enjoy us and let us love on you a little bit.
Your race shop is going to be open as well during this.
I have 11,000 square foot race car shop. It's going to be open. You guys tour through it. It's like a museum. Come tour through it and see where all of our stuff starts and stops. We'll also have a guy by the name of James Liu. He is one of the greatest. In fact, Terry, you worked with James Liu for how long?
Oh, number of times.
Tell him about James Liu.
Well, he's a great martial artist. Great Asian stuntman. You bet. Good friend of mine.
Yeah, and he's like, back in the day, he was one of the best, and he's still one of the best. He's going to put on demonstrations. Some younger kids want to come in here and do some demonstrations with James and show you some moves. Come on out and have a good time with James. He's a very talented, very, very, very great martial artist. And he's got a big heart.
And one of the things that I want people to look for, there is a dune buggy on the walkway, the second floor. There are no ramps. So you have to figure out how Sammy launched it to get it up there on the first try. And
if you guys do guess that, then you get a ride in my stunt car. How about that?
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sammy's going to tell you he put it up there with one hand.
I used to.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Very impressive. We actually saw that when we were visiting a while ago, and we were very impressed. It looked like you didn't even have to figure out a way to aim it in. It's perfectly parked. I thought you can't get better than that.
You have to when you jump something like that, you got to make sure that the ramp is perfect and the speed is even more perfect to land right where you want it.
And he did it all from parallel parking. Amazing, ladies and gentlemen. That's amazing. And of course, if you see the shop, you're going to recognize it, especially if you watched his show on Netflix, Drive Hard, the Maloof Way. And Sammy, I'm going through it show by show. I just watched the Adam Carolla, Jeff Allen show. And I must say, and I think I brought this up to Bob some time ago on the last podcast we did, and I'm just, your use of the Hollywood cliffhanger ending continues to amaze. I think that's a perfect way to end the show, because then you're going, oh man, I got to find out how this ends. And then you have to watch the next.
Got to watch the next one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those cliffhangers are always the hook that tries to pull them in.
Yeah, you got the hook.
It's done very masterfully, if you ask me. So I didn't have nothing to do with it. That's how come it's done so great.
Now, the stories you've told have been very good as well. What, of all the cars you dealt with, what was the favorite car that you worked on, and what was the one that drove you nuts?
On the show or just in life?
On the show.
On the show. My favorite one I think I worked on is the Maloof one, the Precious Vet. Because Larry Maloof, he's a legend in our business. I mean, he's done more stuff, not only just in drag race, road race, Winston Cup engines. He's done Formula One stuff. So Larry's a sharp guy, and he's been around forever. He's very laid back. He's Italian, and he doesn't say a whole bunch. But he raced Precious Vet back in the day. And Bob Beck, if I remember right, you remember that car, don't you?
Which car was it you were driving?
I
do. As a matter of fact, it was out at the track. It was out at Irwindale just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a early single headlight 57. It still has the paint from the 60s on it. And
Yes.
and it was out, as a matter of fact, for the Summit Series NHRA points race just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it sure was. And what happened was that Precious Vet has been in the cobwebs for a long time, and that family means a lot to me. I knew Rocky before Rocky moved to heaven, which was Justin's dad and Larry's son. And Rocky used to race that car with Larry. First it started with Larry, then it went to Rocky, and then it got passed down to Justin. And Justin, his biggest thing was he never wanted to let his grandfather or his dad down. And that's Terry, of course. He tells us when we go on a movie set, if anybody has a cell phone, they're going to go home. Unbelievable.
I didn't know I was going to be here. I turned it off.
Can you imagine if I said that on a movie set?
People like that.
If I said that on a movie set, he'd have sent me home. I don't know I was going to be here.
You'd have been on the next
You
plane.
came from, wait a minute, you came from Arizona to spend a few days. I mean, you don't know you're going to be here.
I didn't know I was going to be talking to these fine gentlemen. You didn't introduce me to them until we got on the phone. So I shut my phone off. Watch. It's not.
Bob, he just said we were fine gentlemen. Boy,
I know, he doesn't know us.
Rails.
There's a little humor injected into all of this. Are you kidding?
We got it. Yeah, a little humor. We've been way too serious.
So anyway, on the show, I told Justin, look it. He goes, he's nervous. I said, don't worry about it. I'll talk to Tata. They call him Tata. I'll talk to Grandpa. So I went out there, and that's pretty much real how it happened. I says, Larry, Justin, and I told him a couple weeks ahead of that. I says, what do you think about Justin racing that car? And he's, Larry just, So then Justin asked him, and then Larry got a hold of me and says, hey, I want to talk to you about something. So I went out there, and then all of us were in agreement. Once I got Larry's agreement, and he green flagged it, it was a great moment from that point on. We get the car over here.
Don't say how it ends, because that's my current cliffhanger.
Exactly. It was a great
Don't
moment.
say how it ends. Does
How
we won or lost?
Yeah. So if you want to know how it really went, you got to go watch that episode.
Sure. Now, you also were one of the drivers for Fast and Furious, which a lot of the young people that are watching us here probably are familiar with. But which car was it you were driving?
Okay. On the movie Too Fast, Too Furious, I was the cat that was driving the convertible Corvette. My name in the show was Osborne. So Terry hired me to do, he was doing a second unit and coordinating.
What second unit is?
Second unit director. The first unit handles all the good people, the actors, and the second unit handles all the second to none, which is us stunt guys. So
it's all the action in the show.
All the action.
It's a movie company within a movie company, and they call it the second unit because they don't want to put action unit because that takes away from the director of the film. So they say it's a second unit, which everybody, well, what's a second unit, doesn't matter. I handle all the action. We lay out all the action on the film, hire the stuntmen for it, hire the crew, the cameramen, the special effects guys. It's a movie company within a movie company. And it's set aside to do just the action sequences on that particular film. And on Too Fast, Too Furious, it was a huge second unit, almost as big as the first unit. Our camp of vehicles and trailers and service vehicles were as big as the first unit. So we end up sometimes directing half the movie or more. And then we put these guys to work, and I stand back and say, don't do as I did because you'll walk like I do.
So on that day, I was driving the Corvette. We're doing, if you remember right, we're doing the big chase scene.
Yeah.
Well, you have what they call a chalk talk, where all the stunt players for that sequence is in a room, in an area, and Terry's got a chalkboard, or he's got these little Hot Wheels, and we're performing it on the street before we do it. So my job was, when they released that Mustang, now you got to remember, this is all taken in cuts. So the last cut was, they're going to drag this Mustang behind the 18-wheeler, and at 55 miles an hour, and then they're going to release this car. And I'm supposed to take my convertible Vet with no roll cage and stuff the car and not roll it over. So I brought that up in our chalk talk. I says, hey, what about this car getting upside down? And they said, chances of that is very slim because we're starting everything at 55. When they release the car off of the truck, they have cable cutters. We're dragging the Mustang behind the truck. When they release that car, by the time I get to it, it should be a 25-mile-an-hour hit. Now that all sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
So, but real world is a little bit different. So we get in the car. I'm not going to wear a harness belt because you're subject to a harness belt. And I already knew that, but he came over and he made sure, he reiterated that in my ear. Sam, I don't want to see a harness belt on you. I go, Terry, they're out of the car. Because, listen, the rule of thumb is this. If you're doing a chase scene in a car crash and there's no roll cage, we usually put a grab strap on the floor, or we put a lap belt so we can get down. But if you're in a harness belt, you are subject to the belts. You get upside down and that thing caves in on you, there's going to be a problem.
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. So in my case, there's a camera here. There's a console here. I couldn't go to the ground, but I wasn't going to use a harness belt. So I had prayed about this whole thing. And on the day, number one, I'm not going to take, always in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. On the day, I says, I'm not going to use the harness belts. Terry come up and he goes, Sammy, don't put those harness belts in. I go, Terry, they're out. I'm not going to use them. So he made sure that those belts were going to be out of that car, which was the right thing. I wasn't going to use them. Secondly, Jim Wilkie, who was the truck driver, came over and he goes, Sammy, I brought you a grab strap. Well, the grab strap was great, but there was no place for me to go. So I took the grab strap, I anchored it around my right bicep, and I anchored it to the speed rail on the passenger side, and I pulled myself all the way over to the center of the console. Then I put hockey pads on and 1 elbow pad in case something I go into the door. I moved my seat back enough so I have head clearance, and I moved it forward. Then I prayed about this, and I put angels around this car, my friends. They said action, and I couldn't see 1 foot in front of me because the special effects that were on the big truck was in the front windshield. I was the lead car, and we had 35 cars behind us going? So I can't see one thing. So if I can't see, the camera can't see, we don't get the shot. I got cars behind me that can't see as well. So I can't just let off gas because there's going to be a domino effect, people stacking into each other. So We take off. I can't see one thing, 25 miles an hour. So one of our stunt buddies goes, Terry, we can't see. Nobody can see. Sammy can't see because they're in cars behind us. Terry didn't get that message. So now I'm going, got up to 55 miles an hour, and I hear him on the radio. Sammy Maloof, I'm doing 55. It was we're doing 55. So I reached over and I flipped that camera on in the car. The next thing I'm supposed to hear is we're releasing the car. I don't hear it. I don't hear it. I hear the cable cutters go off. Boom, the car falls. I cannot see the Mustang. So I'm 55 now. He hired me as a stuntman. And I've heard his stories. I mean, when you're doing a movie like Romance in the Stone and you're going off of a waterfall doubling Michael Douglas, that's a big hairy stunt. When he's going under the truck on Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's a hairy stunt. I'm going to crash a car. I better make it look hairy. Otherwise, I'm never going to hear the end of it from him. So 55 miles an hour, I hear the car go off. I start laying into the throttle. 55, 60, 65, 70. I see a corner of that red, and I mash the pedal. Boom, I hit that Mustang, and everything got quiet. I felt it crushing in, and then it was upside down.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in the air, and I'm going, I remember saying this is not good. And it went straight up and crushed to the ground right on the convertible roof. And I felt a little bit of my hair being touched on the asphalt.
Oh, only
So yeah, that car got upside down in a heartbeat. So that was my experience on Fast and Furious 2. That was called a happy accident. So after it was all said and done, my buddy Corey Eubanks, who's one of my dearest and best friends, one of the best stuntmen in the business, he tells me, he goes, get your butt back in that car, and I'm going to take a picture of that. So he took a picture of me crawling out of the car. So that was a day that I'll always remember. On the movie Fast and Furious 3, Tokyo Drift, Terry hires me again to double the lead actor, Jason Black. So, yeah, it's Jason Black.
Lucas Black.
Lucas Black. Forgive me, Lucas Black.
Yeah.
So I double Lucas Black, and I'm driving, forgive me, Lucas, driving the Monte Carlo. Now this one's all caged, and it's going to be a fun chase scene. That was probably one of the funnest movies I ever worked on. I had so much fun. We had so much fun cutting up with Terry and Corey, and it was just a most memorable movie ever. So I had to jump the car through the house, and then we cannon rolled it at the end. Did a big chase scene. But that car was caged, ready to go. And there was an incident on that happened was right before I'm going to do the cannon roll. Corey is him and Steve Holiday are locking me in. So I put my hands on the ceiling of the roll cage, and I force myself up, and he anchors my lap belts. I grab the steering wheel and force myself back to anchor the harness belts. And I hear this voice from God say, turn the wheel. So I turned, he goes, turn it. I turned it, and the steering wheel broke in my hand. The whole entire shaft and everything came out. What? So I go, Corey, look. So I pull it out, and he's all, Terry, Sammy broke the steering wheel. And all I can hear on my radio is, can't that gorilla drive the car without breaking something? It wasn't my fault. So I get out of the car right away. I got to see what's going on. So I pop my belts. I take my helmet off. I get out of the car. Corey and I take the hood off. And what happened was the guys who splined the shaft, the coupler, they didn't pay attention. They didn't spline it on it all the way. It was only on a 1/16 of an inch. That was right there. If I would have took off, hit that brake at 70 miles an hour, and turned that wheel and it didn't turn, and I blew that cannon, I would have blown over on stunt players. They would have thought it was me, my fault. So it's very important, and I always say it this way, the reason why those things happen is because when the individuals were growing up, They never wipe their feet before they walk into a place. They never wash their face, brush their teeth, comb their hair, and wipe out their sink. They never paid attention to the details. They majored in the minors and minored in the majors, and that follows you all the way through life. When I was growing up, I got up, I had to fix my bed. We had to go instantly in there, wash our face, brush our teeth, comb our hair, go to a breakfast table, eat our breakfast, wash our dishes, dry them, and put them away. We came home at night, we wiped our feet, and we took our shoes off before we went in the house. So my father and mother trained us in disciplines to pay attention to the details. And I think that's what happens in our business, in any other business. The ones who don't pay attention to the details are the ones who get themselves in trouble. Is there anything you want to say about it?
What can I say after this dissertation?
I don't know, Terry. It's, you
You
know,
know, I didn't know it. I didn't know these stunts were that dangerous. I'm sitting here listening to something. My heart's going this fast. I'm about ready to pass out. I had no idea this stuff was that dangerous.
Hey,
for years you were doing it all wrong.
No, I'll tell you what. He tells it like it is.
Hey, let me
He
tell you
tells it
something.
like it is. I mean, it's a great stunt work. Is a tremendous adrenaline rush. And if you're not an adrenaline junkie, you don't belong in the business.
Yeah.
When you're on the firing line and you're listening to, we're rolling, camera A, camera B, camera C, and you're hearing this, and you know you're on the way, and they say action, and it's time to put the gas pedal down, your old heart's going like that, and it's an adrenaline rush like coming out of the tunnel in the Rose Bowl game, coming out of the tunnel in the NFL championship game.
I like that analogy.
It's an adrenaline rush that you can't live without. It's a drug that good stuntmen live on, and it's really a neat deal, you know.
And you and the people watching can get a glimpse of this Sunday, September 11th. If you come out to Stunts and Fun. And again, it's located in San Gabriel. And the address, Sammy, just for those of you who, I'm going to post this, so people who are looking at this, it's on Commercial Avenue, 843, correct?
843 Commercial Avenue, and that's in San Gabriel.
And bear this in mind, it is not on the 12th, it is on the 11th.
Yes. So hey, on the day that in that same movie, so I'm going to jump the car through the house and land. So I'm putting on a harness, a hanging harness that I have. So it hangs me in the air so I don't crush my spine.
Oh, that'd be
So
good.
Corey and I are setting that up. And then Terry comes over to his little golf cart and he gets out and he goes, "Now what is this thing here?" I go, "It's a hanging harness." He goes, "A hanging harness?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "It keeps me in the air so it doesn't crush my spine." He goes, "I was jumping stagecoaches higher than that, sitting on a bucket." Then he goes, "Maybe that's why I'm walking the way I'm walking. You better put that thing."
You guys have to understand the humor among what you guys do, what athletes do, every enterprise in life. If you don't have humor, you don't have anything.
You
So
gotta have a sense
now, I
of
know
humor.
all about that hanging harness, and I know whatever, and I wanted to act like I didn't know anything about it. And I told myself I was jumping stagecoaches without a harness, for Lord's sake. But yeah, the humor is what keeps you going. If you can't laugh at yourself and make fun of yourself, you're in deep
Exactly.
trouble.
Yeah,
No.
you're definitely right.
Terry has kept me safe in many areas, especially in fire stunts I've done. And talking to you always go to your mentor. Listen to me. Your mentor is your closest, I should say it this way, a battle-tested, battle-proven mentor is your closest and safest way to a victorious future. There's those who do it, and the ones that don't do it, they talk about it or they teach it. So I always go to the one who's battle-tested, battle-proven. I never go to anybody that's not capable of solving my immediate problem.
You're going to want to see this show, Stunts and Fun, coming up on Sunday, September 11th.
Yes.
And now you had me going. There's parking nearby. I believe there's a new Gabrielino High School. Is that what it is?
Yep, Gabrielino High School down the road, and they'll be shuttling people back and forth. We're going to have all kinds of vendors out here. We have food trucks. We have Italian food. We got ice cream trucks. So y'all come out here.
And it's all for a good cause, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday. We hope to see you there. I will be there as MC. And again, a lot of fun to be had by all and a great opportunity to help those who really need it. Sammy, Terry, thanks for joining us.
I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys.
No, we're
looking forward to it.
Thank you.
We're delighted that you were able to join us today. Thanks so much.
The word thank you is not big enough, and anybody that is hearing us that would donate, please, it will never be trivialized. It'll always be celebrated. And like I said, you can go to stuntsandfun.com and push the donate button.
Hey, just a curiosity. Am I too old to learn how to do this stuff?
I didn't hear you.
Just push the button.
Am I too old to learn how to do this?
Listen to me,
You're
Bob.
never too old.
Never
Look at
too
the
old.
color of my hair.
Hey, come on, you know.
Bob,
Just
Bob, you know what? You got the same color as Terry's hair, but you walk a little different than Terry. I'm not trying.
I removed the bucket from the stagecoach.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's talking about. Anyway, I'm not going to say anymore. Why I'm not really a good mentor? I tell this to everybody. They're responsible for rigging their own stunts. And the reason I say that, and I say this facetiously with humor, is that I'm not going to rig anything for you. You see the way I walk.
Hey, no, wait a minute. Before we hang up, you got to hear one story. Only one.
That's another episode.
Time.
Terry,
What story?
Terry, tell them about the Wilt Chamberlain story.
Oh, this I've got to hear. Okay, go ahead.
All right, yeah.
No, that's not for publication.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah, they'll hear about it.
Everybody knows it in the world. What happened?
Wait a minute. Is it in his
No, we'll
book?
talk about it when you get here.
Is
Okay.
it in his book?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's one of,
It's so
Will
funny.
had a
this
book.
story.
Was it in his book?
it's one of the 2000 episodes.
Oh, I thought this was the one where he did the Volkswagen Rabbit commercial and squeezed into a Volkswagen Rabbit. That has to be a stunt. The guy 7-1.
No, this one here. When we tell you, Randy, you're gonna crack up, man.
All right. All
What
right.
other story you got to tell?
Sunday.
He'll tell me Sunday. So then on our next show,
We're double parked. We've been here too long.
yeah, he'll tell me, and I'll do the PG version, which will probably be. So Will Chamberlain walked into the bar, and that'll be it. That's all I'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys.
Actually, walked into another bar.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's see you at the
Thank
show on Sunday. And Bob, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the
All right.
Thank you so much.
Chat Fest. That's what it is.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Randy.